Hi, welcome to the first Hebrew lesson. Before we start, get yourself a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper, preferably a notebook. And also get yourself a sheet of paper and a pair of scissors, just ordinary sheet of photocopy paper or printing paper, because we're going to be cutting it up and using it to help ourselves learn the letters, if you don't know them already. The letters, we're going to study them in groups. We're not going to study the alphabet straight through. We're going to study them in groups. And the first group of letters we're going to study are the ones that give English speakers and Europeans in general, and in fact most non-Arabic speakers, a lot of trouble. And these are the gutturals. The word guttur is Latin for throat, right? Guttur. Just like we have a gutter along the side of a building because that collects the water, which then flows down it. So if you take a drink, it flows down your guttur. And so the gutturals are pronounced here. The very first guttural we're going to pronounce, I want you to take your hand and put it on your neck like this. And when you speak, notice that there's a buzzing sound firstly. This is called voicing. Some letters have voice and some do not. Hebrew has a letter which is the absence of sound. It's called a glottal stop. And this occurs when air flows through the guttur, stops suddenly, and then continues on. It occurs in Cockney English, this sound. For example, when a Cockney Englishman, or estuary English, because it's taking over standard pronunciation, instead of saying butter, which is decidedly upper middle class nowadays, what you would hear in London is butter, butter. And this is the sound of the air going, stopping and starting again, butter. So if you put your hand here and say butter, butter, you will hear that sound stopping and starting, just like you'd hear it if you say uh-oh, uh-oh, right? The sound stops and starts. The airflow stops and starts. It's called a glottal stop because that little bit at the back of your throat, your glottis, is stopping the airflow and then letting it come back through again. Then this is the Hebrew letter Aleph. There we have it. I put an underneath it because sometimes it does serve the function of the vowel A. However, here it is a glottal stop, and it's one of the gutturals. There are 4 of them, 4 guttural letters, and the first one, Aleph. You can write it down. It's an angle, and then 2 lines coming off it, like that. Press pause, by the way, if you have to write these down. The next guttural letter we're going to look at is straightforward. It's just air blowing through your throat, and that is the letter H, right? That's a gentle breathing, like that. The next letter, if you own a cat, or you've ever irritated a cat, then you will know what it sounds like. It's the sound of an angry cat. So it's a aggravated H. That's how we think of it. It's an H where the air is being constricted. Now it's either being constricted, some scholars think, down here in the throat, or it's being constricted further up in the velar region, which is at the back of your throat here. And it's probably easier for us to pronounce it if it's slightly higher up in the velar region than down here. So here we have it. And we write it in our transliteration with an H and a dot underneath it. So a, ha, a, ha. And the last of our gutturals is one that gives us a lot of fun. It's a great deal of fun. Most standard grammars say that it is a velar fricative. It's here at the back of your throat. It's a fricative. That means that it's a rubbing going on. And fricare, to rub. So it's a pharyngeal fricative. It's even further back in your throat, back here. And my grammar book describes it very, very romantically as the sound of incipient vomiting. That's the sound you make when you stick your finger down your throat. Ah, ah. It's also a sound a bird, like a crow, might make. Ah, ah. So that is ein. There are various ways of transliterating it. I'm transliterating it very, very simply with ng. And here we have our 4 gutturals. Ah, ha, hang. Ah, ha, hang. So we learn them with this word ahahang, ahahang. In my synagogue, this ein is actually pronounced hung, and they say shmang. But the ancient pronunciation would have been ah. It was quite a strong sound, and when it was transliterated into Greek, it became a gamma. So it was quite a hard guttural sound. Ahahang, ahahang. And those are our gutturals. You can press pause now and write them down. Good. Those are the gutturals. The next set we're going to look at are the linguals. Now, lingua, as you know from your Latin, is a tongue. There it is, lingua. So linguals involve the tongue. And the first lingual we're going to look at is pretty straightforward for us to pronounce. It's this d, d, just like in the word do, did, and does, d. And that looks like so. D. Its distinguishing characteristic as far as it goes, it's got a right angle on the inside. This is extremely important. And in fact, you can just write a little right angle, and that will be a daled, or a line across and a line going down. But it has to have a sharp angle on the inside. There's another letter that is rounded on the inside. And when we get to that, you'll see that very, very important to keep your eye out for this sharp corner. There's another letter that looks very similar. D. So you can press your pause button and you can write these down. But I'll describe also how they formed to make it easier for you as well. Other thing to note, Hebrew letters hang from the line. English letters sit on the line. If you have lined paper and you're writing Hebrew, you hang your letters from the line like so much washing, with these long lines on the top hanging on the line, and the letters hang down. Right? That's why English people, they look at Hebrew and they think it's upside down, because English actually, all the weight of letters is at the bottom with the lines going up, and Hebrew, all the weight's on the top with the lines hanging down. So that's D. Our next lingual is going to be T. T. If you are parodying, having a parody of an Indian speaking English, I don't really speak English very well. T. T. This T sound, this vela T, is found in Indian varieties of English, and it's a T that's further back up here. Up there. T, T. It's not where our normal T is, which is towards the back of our teeth. T, but T, T, T. So we have it here, and we transliterate it with a T and a dot underneath it. Dat, dat. D, d, T, d, T, d, T. Our next lingual is L, L, just like the English L. It's a dark L. There's a light L and a dark L, so it's a dark L, L, L. So, dat, T, L. And if you go from a T straight to the L, you'll get your dark L. T, L. Dat, L. And then N, N. This letter, when you draw it, make sure the top line and the bottom line are very short. Minimize them, because there's another letter that has a longer form, and it's very easy to get them confused. So keep it very short and very tight, like a bracket. N. And the last one, very much straightforward, like the English T, but it's a little bit further back in the mouth, but not much further. T, T, T. Not as far back as this one. K, T, K, T. So, dat, lenat. This is how we remember it. Dat, lenat. So, press pause and write these down. And then remember the word dat, lenat. Dat, lenat. Our next group are the palatals, and they are pronounced in your palate, and that, of course, is the soft part at the top of your mouth. The palatals start with g, g, and that's quite straightforward, and this is what it looks like. G. It's a little line coming down with a little foot sticking off the end of it, and a dot in the middle. It must have this dot. G, G. The next is Y, Y. As a consonant anyway, it's pronounced Y. So G and Y. Also, your tongue is touching the top of your mouth at the back. G, Y. K. This is pretty much like an ordinary English K sound, as in king. K. Note the dot in the middle. Very important there. K. It's quite long on the top and bottom, and it's round at the back. The distinguishing characteristic of this letter is its roundness. So remember, round, K, just like a backwards C. This last letter, quite ornate, right? It's got this curvy bit and then a line coming down. They don't touch. And this we transliterate with a Q. It's quite far back in the throat. So it's, although it's a palatal, it's actually quite far back on your palate, and it's K, 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 K. So this is K, and this is K, K, K. Can you hear the difference? This one is really back in the soft part of your throat here. K, K. And the other one, K. So when you are saying K, you can actually feel the movement back here. And when you're saying K, you can't really feel much going on back here. So K, 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 K. Because this K requires much more muscular movement of your tongue to get your tongue to go back there. So press pause and write these out with the transliteration underneath them. Our next set of letters are the dentals, right? Dens, Latin for tooth, dens. So these are the dentals, and that gives you an indication of where they are pronounced in the mouth. And the first one is Z, Z, the letter Z, Z. And it looks like this. It's got a tiny little line on top, and a line going down. So it's like a T, but very short on top. So if you draw it, if you're going to sort of draw it in a very sort of shorthand way, draw a T, a capital T, but keep the top crossbar very short. And underneath you write Z, Z. The next one is our pure S sound. This looks a bit like the Greek sigma, and it's a pure S, S, S. This one, which we put with the cedilla, is ts, ts. So s and ts, s, ts. This is a dental. It's the letter R, but it's not pronounced back there. It's pronounced at the front. R, R. So zastsr, zastsr. And this here is a sh sound, sh, also involving our teeth, sh. So zastsrash is how we remember these. Zastsrash. So press the pause button, write these down with the transliteration underneath. Our last set of letters are the labials. Labia are your lips. The labia are your lips. And so they are pronounced with your lips, right? So forget about how these might be pronounced in English. In Hebrew, these letters, the labials, are pronounced with our lips. And the first one is B. It's a bilabial, involves both your lips. B. B. And it's a plosive because there's an explosion. B. And there we have it. B. So you can press your pause button and write them out, or you can wait for me to go through them and do it then. It's got a curvy bit on top, and then a line at the bottom, and a dot in the middle. Okay? B. The next one, you can just draw this as a letter I without the dot on top. So just a straight line, or you can give it a tiny little hook at the top. But do not make this hook too long. Keep it very, very short. It's very important because the letter R, which we saw before, is very similar to this, but the top part is longer. So keep this very short on top. R. And this is W. 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 Okay. Our next one looks a bit complicated, but actually you can just draw a curve or a triangle and a line at the bottom. So it's like a triangle shape with a rounded top, and it doesn't meet down here, and it's got a little ear sticking out of it, a little line sticking out of it here. This is M. 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 Also involving your lips. M. 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 And our last one is P. P. Also involving both of your lips. Right? B. P. B. P. The difference between B and P, if you put your hand here and you go B and then you go P, B. P is that P is not voiced and B is. That's our main distinction. So we have B, P. And this is boomp, boomp, boomp. You can now press pause and write these down. Remember, there's a dot in this letter and a dot in that letter. Do not forget them. Boomp. Okay, and that is that for the first thing. I'm going to quickly give you a bit of a help to memorize the letters. What you need to do is get yourself a sheet of paper, like so, and get yourself a pair of scissors, and cut yourself some strips like this. And then at the top of your strip, write out a group of letters of your choice. Here we have, I've written out the, what have I written out here? The gutturals, all right, there they are, right, ahaha, with the transliteration underneath. What you do then is fold it over, and from memory, you write it out with the transliteration underneath. Open it up to check you got it right, fold it over again, write it out again with the transliteration, check you got it right, fold it over again, open up to check, and keep on doing it, folding and folding and folding and folding and folding. You should be able to probably rewrite it about 15 times on one strip. And then do it again. So keep doing it and do it with each group of letters until you know your letters. It shouldn't take you that long in this form of learning them in their groups, the gutturals and the linguals and the palatals and the dentals and the labials. Right, that's that for this first lesson. Bye.